Hi there. I'm Clover, a simple country mouse with, big dreams. You know, the kind that make you want to, well, scurry right out of your comfort zone. Life in the country was pretty sweet. Fresh air, plenty of space, and all the acorns you could eat. But every now and then, I'd catch a glimpse of the distant city lights, and my whiskers would twitch with curiosity. Then one day, everything changed. My cousin from the big city came to visit.
Cousin Clover, you won't believe the life I'm living in the big city. Skyscrapers, fancy restaurants, and more cheese than you can imagine.
Wow, cousin, that sounds amazing. I've always wanted to try one of those fancy juices.
Oh, Clover, fancy juices are just the beginning. We have fine cheeses, nuts, and desserts. So much food to eat you can't even imagine.
Yay, that all sounds so exciting.
Oh, you simply must visit. You haven't lived until you've experienced city life.
That night, I could hardly sleep. My mind was buzzing with visions of bright lights, fancy hats, and cheese platters the size of my entire home. The next morning, I packed my tiny suitcase faster than you can say country mouse. I was ready for my big adventure. The journey to the city was like nothing I'd ever experienced. We zipped along in what my cousin called a taxi, which was basically a giant yellow cheese wedge on wheels. And just like that, I was off on an adventure. The city was huge, with buildings that seemed to touch the clouds. My eyes were as wide as dinner plates. Everywhere I looked, there was something new and exciting. Flashing billboards, honking cars, and more mice than I'd ever seen in one place.
Welcome to my humble abode. It's a bit crowded, but hey, that's city living for you.
The basement was dark and cramped, nothing like the cozy nest I had back home. But I was determined to see the bright side. At least it's cozy?
You'll get used to it.
That night, we snuck up to the dining room for a feast. The smells were incredible. There were foods I'd never even dreamed of. Something called pizza that smelled like heaven, and tiny sandwiches that my cousin called sliders. But just as I was about to take my first bite of gourmet cheese, crash! Meow! A giant cat appeared out of nowhere. We ran for our lives, squeezing through a tiny hole in the wall. As we caught our breath, I realized something. All the fancy food and exciting sights weren't worth this constant fear. We spent the rest of the night huddled in that tiny hole, jumping at every sound. Is this what city life was really like? The next morning, I packed my little suitcase. It was time to go home.
But Clover, you've barely experienced the city. What about the theaters, the museums?
Thanks, cousin, but I've realized something. My simple life in the country, it's pretty amazing just the way it is. As I rode the taxi back home, I couldn't help but smile. Sometimes you have to leave home to realize just how wonderful it really is. The farther we got from the city, the more relaxed I felt. The air seemed fresher, the colors brighter. When I finally reached my little home under the oak tree, I let out the biggest sigh of relief. Home sweet home. Now, when I look at my cozy nest and the beautiful countryside, I don't see boring anymore. I see peace, safety, and happiness. And that's the greatest adventure of all. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad I took that trip to the city. It taught me an important lesson. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes it's perfectly green right where you are. So here I am, back in my country home, sipping acorn tea and watching the sunset. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. The next time you're feeling like the mouse next door has it better, remember my little adventure. Your own backyard might just be the best place in the world. This is Clover the Country Mouse, signing off. Remember, there's no place like home, especially when home is a cozy little nest at the bottom of a big old oak tree.